I'm back, and it's for the review of Mulan. All three. So first up, so I paid $30 because I wanted to see the Disney Mulan, which I was very curious how they were going to do it. And I know a lot of people have been comparing it to Matchless Mulan, but there's actually 3 live action Mulans movies that are out there. So I just wanted to kind of go over it and kind of just explain what's happening and issues I had, and I'll tell you which one is actually my favorite Mulan at the very end. Alright, so let's get started because I have notes. So for the Disney Mulan, it is played by Liu Yifei. So she's a super awesome romance Chinese drama actress. Is Donnie Yen, Jet Li, who I had no idea was in the film at all until credits. That bothers me because the makeup was amazing, but you guys really shouldn't have dubbed his voice like you did in the one. I'm not a fan of that. Jet Li's voice is just fine. You leave my husband alone. Don't dub his voice again. But yeah, let's talk about this. So everyone's for the most part, you're pretty familiar with Mulan, the ballad and the story where it comes from. But just in case if you didn't know, let's go over the story really quickly. So basically, her father, she goes into war she steals a horse, she gets armor, the whole 9 yards, and she replaces her father in the war. She becomes such a great warrior once they eventually realize, of course, she's a woman. What ends up happening is she always, generally based on the 3 movies, she is rewarded to go home because she's been away because she wasn't supposed to leave, basically. One of the reasons why Mulan is so well spoken of is because it is not only just a strong woman, but she's a woman who worked very hard to get to where she is. So Disney had this cute little cartoon. It was great. Everyone loved Mushu. You know, the back and forth comedy. Disney's cartoon was fun. However, let's go over a couple of things in regards to the live action. Donnie Yen was super awesome. I love when she just sort of let him do his thing with the sword, and I was like, awesome, letting him Donnie be Donnie. Although I do like a lot of his younger work too, because he's so young looking. When you look at the film, if you have the expectation that this is going to be like a true Chinese feel movie, I don't get that impression. Now, I watch a lot of Chinese dramas. I've been watching them since I was a kid. So it was a little interesting to see the film and see that it had the feel of a foreigner's perspective of what Chinese culture is, but not trying to insult it, but also trying to honor it at the same time. And it was weird because I had to watch the movie twice, because the first time I saw the film, I was like, what did I just see? I had questions. I was all over the place. Called my best friend up like I needed therapy counseling. Like it was very serious for me. And I wasn't sold on it the first time. And I was like, all right, whatever. You bought it for $30. You can watch it again. Go over it again. Go line by line and see what it is about the film that's bothering you. So when you're watching the Disney Mulan, the movie opens up with this young Hua Mulan, and she's like, you know, more of a troublemaker, if you will. She's just sort of like, she's a tomboy, always getting into trouble, relatable. You know, they show her hopping along the rooftop because she's chasing the chicken because she's got to get it back into the pen. And she breaks the wing of a phoenix, and they start to try to explain Chinese culture in that little segment. Now, in the opening scene, the thing that I did like about the opening was the little girl. I loved her. I thought she was so adorable. She's got the cutest little smirk, and I was like, I'm gonna be her when I grow up. And the only thing that I had an issue with in the opening and throughout the entire film is the explanation of Qi. So I understand there are some things culturally that you're trying to explain, whether it is Chinese culture to Western culture, Spanish, Native American. Sometimes culture translations are not always explained properly. And Qi is your living force. It is your essence. If you were to westernize the idea, it is like your soul. It is the very essence of you, the thing that gives you life. The earth has Qi. The plants have Qi. Your dog has Qi. My cat has Qi. You have Qi. So the fact that a woman is not supposed to have Qi, especially a powerful Qi, because powerful Qis are only for warriors, it wasn't explaining it correctly, and it sort of came off a little too hard, like, we look down on women. And I'm like, there's been empresses in China, so it's a little hard to like take that perspective, and that's where it kind of came off from a foreigner's perspective. Like, I understand her because they're putting her down because she's a woman. And don't get me wrong, like, it's just, women in general do have to deal with that, like in across the world, but just not in the way that they implied it in the Disney's Mulan. So that was a little strange for me. I'm getting a phone call, and so that was the only thing that was a little weird for me, because they kept running it in like her chi, her chi, her chi, her chi, and I'm like, okay, but that's not what chi is. Like I don't know, like someone should have just let the director know real quickly. So of course, you know, they come in, they start to explain a little bit more about the Rorans. They're like, oh, there's gonna be a war, we need you and your sons, blah blah blah. So she gets up. Now in Disney Mulan here, she has a younger sister, opposed to I think in the cartoon she had one. I can't remember the cartoon right now because I'm going through too many Mulans, and I saw the second one bothered me. And so she, you know, she does the matchmaker scene, which is kind of funny. The makeup they did is actually from like historical pieces of China, like in regards to the makeup. It was a little extra, but it's okay. That's actually pretty common whether you look at Native American culture, African culture, and I believe also in the Middle East as well. So they did the matchmaker scene, which I thought it's really her sister's fault, but I do understand that I guess she didn't want to throw her sister under the bus, so that was acceptable. Warriors come in, they're like, the Rorans, we must fight them, and the father's like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I can't walk. And that was, for one, I gotta say, that was my heartbreaking scene, because I felt for him when he like leans in, he's like, yep, got it, collapse. And I was like, my heart goes out from Mulan, you gotta go. I'm sorry, babe, you gotta go. And so that scene I thought was pretty decent, and that little talk that she had with him prior to leaving, I guess it's supposed to be a hint to the ballad in a sense, because in between the time of finding out about the war and her running around and they show the rabbits, it's actually from the ballad, and it's more or less of, I guess, the hint of saying when two bunnies are running side by side, you can't really tell which one is which, you know what I mean? So that's, I guess, more or less where the idea is supposed to be hinting back to the ballad, because the movie spends time hinting to the ballad as well as to the cartoon itself, and a little bit of like, I guess, like historical Chinese history in certain aspects. If you look at like the Rorans, how the makeup was done for the matchmaker scene. But anyway, I digress. So she takes her father's place, and her way of avoiding to be noticed in who she is because she, you know, she stays out guarding at night. She doesn't take a bath with the boys, that kind of thing. And this is where I start to kind of like also lose my interest in the film, or at least my dedication to it in that regards. Again, the actors, everyone was great. I appreciate it, but it's just from what it looked like. One of the things that I love the most about Mulan, whether you're looking at the other two live actions as well as the cartoon, is they show her comrades. You know, she starts to have like, she's the dude of the group, even though she's a chick. And even though they don't know, it's the bonding relationship of being able to, like, you know, make jokes and build up, and that beautiful scene in the cartoon where she figures out how to use the weights to climb up the pole. And although I didn't mind their them trying to show the training, but they didn't show like the friendship that she built in that time. Of course, the commander, Donnie Yen, he notices something's very different about Mulan, and I have a couple of moments where it's like, oh no, does he know? It was like very strange, you know, especially after she reveals how powerful her chi is, her fighting skills. And Donnie Yen pulls her to the side, and he's more or less like, hey, you're hiding your chi, don't hide your chi, why are you doing it? She's like, I don't know. And that's primarily the main focus of Mulan, her realizing she can extend her chi fighting skills. Is that a fly? That is. So yes, I hit it. Sorry. And so Tiger Claw's really getting into me. So what ends up happening is they show her training, but they don't really show like the best parts of her training, which is the boys kind of messing with each other, going back and forth. She doesn't really have a real love interest here, even though there is some confusing funny scenes where like he like leans in really close, like, what's up, babe? You stink, bro, you gotta go take a bath. So like, it was just weird because I was questioning the whole time, trying to figure out like, well, if Donnie Yen is the commander, where's the commander, the one from the cartoon? Like, are they doing it from that one, or are they doing it from the other film? Like, what is going on? So once I figured out who was really supposed to be who in reference to the cartoon, the romance is not really there. It almost just comes across like he's questioning his sexuality, which is really funny. Like, he doesn't know. I think like towards the end of the film, he's like, oh great, it's a girl. At least that's the feel that I got. So lack of I guess bromance between all the guys. And yeah, I made notes. I made some serious notes because I had to watch the movie twice and a half. The Phoenix. So I know they took out Mushu, and some people were like, oh my god, you took out Mushu. Okay, if the film was supposed to be a little bit more serious, I can work with Mushu not being in there because he wasn't in any of the 2 live actions either. So I was like, whatever. However, the Phoenix is more supposed to be of a positive omen. That kind of thing. Phoenixes are just a universal thing. I think everyone wants to be like, I'm gonna die and be reborn, just positive omen. Whatever it is, Phoenixes are known for being positive. That is their thing. So I thought that was cool. I like the way how it looked. I know they said some people were complaining with the color. I didn't mind the color. I thought it looked kind of fine. I like the vibrance of it. So that was pretty cool. The fight scenes, there wasn't enough fight scenes for what I was expecting. So when I say fight scenes, when you have an opening of young Mulan training from the beginning, which I don't have an issue with, when you have her doing all this acrobatic wushu kind of like feel to it, and then you get her as an adult, the scene seemed a little short. They did the slow motion thing, which was nice and cool, but it wasn't as much realistic battle fighting that I was sort of hoping for. And I'm wondering, did they cut back because it's Disney, you know, and everything's happy and pretty looking? After you see that kind of opening, your expectations are a little high, and my expectations dropped in regards to the fight scenes. The other thing that dropped my expectations is, after all this training, they finally get to the village, right? That the Khans, the Bori Khan, Jason Scott Lee, the Rorans have destroyed the village. The scene that they put in there did not look devastating. A little bit of going back to the Rorans in history, they were fierce warriors. Think of them as 300. They were the Spartans, like if you want to think of them that way. When they left a scene and a village, it was intense. And especially if you watch a lot of C-dramas and you see how much effort they put into like the decimation and the tribulations that people are following behind in regards to like what happened here, it's supposed to be really, really heartbreaking. And maybe I just have a dark, evil soul, and I'm okay with that. And maybe my goth seeps out just a little bit here and there, but the scene didn't seem devastating enough. So that was a little troublesome in regards to like the fighting. As a viewer, feel for them, like they have to fight. And that's really a strong point in regards to the other 2 Mulan movies. Another thing that I had an issue with was the avalanche scene. Alright, so let's just backtrack before we get to the avalanche scene. Gong Li, I love you. I may cheat on you with Michelle Yeoh, but I still love you. Gong Li. Now, I loved her. I love the point of her character, except for the fact that they kept calling her a witch, because technically in Asian culture, it's not witch. You would be considered like kind of like an evil spirit or like a demonic spirit. It's more like that kind of thing. So really not technically witch. That's more of a Western feel. Like, oh, she seems powerful. Burn her! Salem, anyone? So that's more of a Western thing. So that's another thing that kind of clashed over. Her character was a little confusing. I loved her outfits and all. I would be a villain in a minute just to be with her. But in regards to her as a witch, I felt like she's supposed to be more of an evil spirit or demonic spirit because she was shape-shifting, because I don't know if she was possessing people or shape-shifting. But anyway, during the entire part of Mulan, everyone's like, you gotta be yourself, you gotta be yourself, you gotta be yourself, with like hints to lines and stuff like that to songs from the cartoon. So when we get to the avalanche scene, she follows off with the warriors like, I'm gonna go get them. And then like Gong Li's like, what you doing? What are you doing? What's this crap? And she asked her, you know, like, who are you? And she's like, and it's this back and forth of like, you're lying to me. It is poisoning your chi. But anyways, she ends up getting like hit. Gong Li throws a weapon at her. I'm assuming her boobs or her bra protected her chest. Guess I'm screwed, huh? But has this moment sort of realizing she needs to be who she is, right? Which I think is what they spent more time focusing on for Mulan, where that's not the impression that I had of Mulan from the cartoon as well as the other films and from reading the ballads. But we'll let it slide. After her big fight, or supposed one of her fights with Gong Li, she realizes herself, and then she does the one thing that didn't make any sense to me. And this is where the feministic part that did not apply was put into the film that bothered me. She removes her father's expensive heavy armor, the thing that is protecting her, releases her hair. I don't know if that was sexy, but I was trying, because this is exactly what I look like when I'm in Kung Fu class. Hair is like flowing, she's got the curls, she's on the horse, and that confused me because I was like, why are you removing your armor? And maybe it's because I'm in class and, you know, we do staff, we use the snake spear and all that other stuff, and maybe that's why I was like, what are you doing? Even Wonder Woman doesn't take off her armor. What are you doing? And I felt like that was overdone. Like, I am a beautiful woman who is fierce with a sword. And it seemed too much. And I was like, alright. So the reason why that bothers me, even more so, leading to the avalanche scene, is because to protect themselves from the Rwandans, the group was like, oh no, what do we do? So they do the 300 huddle. And they got the shields and they're protecting themselves. And if you look carefully in the film after you watch it more than once, you can see that there's a couple of them. So the Rwandans are like, I know what we're gonna do, cannonball! So they're lighting it and putting grease on it, so they light it on fire and you know, explode and blow things up, right? Because Hollywood loves to do that. Mulan comes running out into the battlefield, hair weaving in the wind, and she's like, no! Trying to protect her comrades, right? Because now she's gonna reveal that she's a woman out of nowhere, which I'm pretty sure someone knew because he was in the water with her and her shoulders were coming down way too low, and I was like, come on dude, you know that's a woman. My issue is, we're in the middle of battle. They've been out there for weeks. There is no way in the world that two sides, whether you're looking at the Rwandans or the people representing the Northern Way from the Champé people, they're not going to notice a hot babe on a horse running by. I just think it's impossible. I just don't think that it'd be like, hot chick, who cares? Let's throw some more ammo. I just don't see that being possible. I mean, the pandemic happened and I'm not the hottest chick on the block, but I've gotten more attention from males since the pandemic has started. And they're like, hey, you're not holed up somewhere quarantined. So I just kind of feel like if it was in the middle of war and I was just in a horse, hey, I'm gonna go, oh crap! I know that's exactly what would happen. So I just wasn't seeing it, but I will digress. Because anything with an orifice at that point will look really good, male or female. Men do not care after it's been too long. I am just saying. But anyway, I did not like that because of that's in my head. There's enough time for her to run along and grab the helmets. Now, if she was not in front of her comrades while this was happening and it wasn't so obvious she was running across the field and she was sneaking around a mountain or something and collecting headgear, I would have probably accepted it a little bit much, but I would have taken it. I didn't mind the trick that she does to get them to throw the stuff over there because she's shooting the arrows to get their attention, we're behind you! Which is weird because there was no commander really. I know the commander took off, but usually there should be another general on the field to help guide everyone, and it just seemed like they were all supposed to be dumb soldiers, oh no, there's an arrow, the enemy's behind us! And that's exactly what happened. And it was weird because I was like, there's no generals. I'm like, there's always different generals coming up just in case. There's one head honcho and there's other people to kind of help out. Getting that to trigger the avalanche, I guess, was their tricky way of trying to reference back to the cartoon. I also don't understand how she also managed to pick up her love interest casually through the snow in his armor just with one hand. They show a little struggle because Yoife is about my size, and don't get me wrong, I could probably lift a man if he's at the right, but he's got armor and I got a horse. I'm probably just gonna do the smartest thing is get a rope and just attach it to him. I'm so sorry, I hope you don't hit your head on a rock, but I cannot lift you. Let's go. How many of y'all know that show? You're all sitting there where's Mulan? Where's Mulan? Where's Mulan? And then she comes out who's that girl you? She had her little moment. They all realize she's a woman. The commander's pissed. He's like, oh, it's a chick. Get out. I mean, I'm glad you saved our lives, but get out. We can't have this. And when she gets all the information of what's going to happen to the emperor, who we do not recognize, because they kept dubbing his voice. Shame on you, Disney. She goes back to Donnie Yen and they're like, Commander, it was all a trick. We have to go save the Emperor. And like, oh, but the Imperial City is protected, which it is. There would be a lot of people there. The Imperial City was extremely empty. It was like very, very strange. They have this moment like, no, I will kill you where you stand. She's like, fine. If you must kill me, at least listen to me. And then suddenly everyone goes from like hating her because she has a vagina, like, I believe Hua Mulan, I believe Hua Mulan, I believe Hua Mulan, Hua Mulan. Let's go. You will lead us. And I'm like, what? Hold on. What just happened here? Did he just go from commander to just go, curtsy? And it was just a little weird. And there's like 8 of them, I think, riding off into the sunset. And they make their way over to the Imperial City. Gong Li runs in there. She's doing her thing, her witchcraft, or evil demonic spirit rather, running through the city, and she takes over the Chancellor, and then she like tricks the Emperor to like be by himself. If you watch C-dramas, the Emperor cannot pee. Basically, he can't even eat a grape without like 8 people getting up going, Your Highness, I do think you should do that. And then someone else steps out to the side like, but Your Highness, I do not think you should believe so. And then like one of the princes of like, you know, like, I don't know, Prince 7 or something like that comes out and he's like, actually, I believe with this counselor, I believe with him. Like there's like 8 people telling you what they think and what they don't think and how they think you should do this and do that and do that and do this and this and this and this. So it was just weird. They're like, okay, we're all leaving. And I was like, what? Alright. Too keen on it. I was like, you should have like watched a few more C-dramas. At least 1 or 2. Princess Wei Young would have been a great reference for you. If you especially want to stick with the Rohan kind of thing, would have been great. If you can watch like all 50 episodes. Great show. Sorry, I'm still like stuck on it because I'm like really, really pissed off at Changla. But I swear to God it was supposed to be like Empress Jia Nampeng. Empress Jia, she was hardcore. I'm pretty sure that's who Changla was supposed to be. But anyway, they ride into the city. There's like 100 people there, which is weird because I was like, there should have been more soldiers, but alright, whatever. And then they just sort of clear the way just for Mulan. It's weird because Gong Li's like, oh my god, they accept you for all of your power and chi. And she's like, I'm leading the army. And now she's trying to like tell her it's too late for her to go down a good path. Mulan's like, but she can do it. And she's like, no. And he's like, where's the Emperor? Which I thought there was going to be another cool fight, but there wasn't. And because Mulan doesn't want to go down the evil path and, you know, learn the dark arts of evil spiritry, she shapeshifts into a falcon again, which might explain why in the Disney cartoon version, why it looked like he was constantly talking to their bird. I will give them that. Turns into the bird, she's flying off away, and she's like leading Mulan, but not leading Mulan. Goes back, tells Boricon like, the army is led by a woman. Which is kind of like tension in their relationship the whole time because he kind of just treats her like she's a dog. He's like, you belong to me. And that's basically what is happening. And he basically reminds her like, remember where you came from. Nobody would accept you because how powerful your chi was. In my kingdom, you will be accepted. Just know that you were below me. And she even threatens him at one point like early in the film. Like, I could destroy you. Like that, bitch. And she doesn't. So when he realizes Mulan is on her way to this random hidden place where Jet Li was doing like ribbon fighting, and I gotta learn that kung fu because that was pretty cool. I was like, I've always wanted to do ribbon dancing, but not ribbon fighting. I've never heard of that one, but I'm going to. I guess Zhang Jie, if you really think about it, from Crouching Tiger and stuff like that. But anyway, he's Mulan. He's like, oh, I will get her. He shoots the arrow, and Mulan looks up at the last minute, and instead of destroying Boricon like she said she could, this is the scene that hurt my feelings, like really hurt my feelings. She sacrifices herself for Mulan. Mulan catches her, they have a moment, she's like, ah. And she's dead, right? I'm gonna get back to that in a second because that really bothered me. And I'll explain to you why before I move into the next film. So Mulan makes her way up there, she's battling. It wasn't much of a fight as I was hoping. They have her do another couple more kicks. They love, don't judge me for my cup. Yeah, I went back, I am drinking wine out of a Jack Skellington cup. That's right, Halloween's nearby. Yes. Sorry, my little goth soul seeps out, and sometimes if I put a Disney theme on it, it seems friendly. And like Mulan, they love her kicks, I guess because it looks really pretty. The warrior tries to shoot the arrow at Jet Li, and Jet Li catches it with one good arm, which is weird because I was like, he could have gotten out this whole time. And he's like, you can do it, Mulan. And she's like, "Apapata!" And he's like, oh, I'm dead. He put her in front of the Emperor, and then suddenly he's like, what do you want? I'll give you anything. Ba 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 ba. And she's like, hey, so like I kind of love my family, and I just want to go home. That was a long war. I'm like really tired. Do you guys mind if I just head home and just bring honor to my family and stuff? Yeah, cool. All right, peace. And she like leaves. Then she treads back. There's a little moment between her and Love Boy. Not a real love moment because it's almost like you can tell that they're hinting like there will be a part 2, and you're like, oh. So, Mulan, this Disney Mulan has been bringing nothing but dishonor to my camera. I am so pissed right now. But I'm also very glad that I can do Kung Fu and heels a little bit. So anyways, I caught my camera as I was trying to finish Disney Mulan. Come on, Canon, work with me. I'm going up to the 2 other Mulans. Just work with me, baby. Work with me. And I cried without spilling my drink, I just want to point it out. And it's like a little moment, but it's not really a real moment, but you can tell he totally has a hot story. He's like, now that I know you're a girl, and I'm no longer gay as I thought I was, where are you going? So she heads back home. She's like, peace. She just leaves. The entire army, or like a chunk of them, are like just trailing behind her like 3 minutes. I don't know how she could go through all that war, have so much chi, and not notice the people behind her on the horse. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they just guiding me home? Because if that's the case, I want an entourage just like that. I want men's on horses, war. I want everything. And someone better have a snake spirit, because that's my favorite spirit. She comes in like, you bring honor to the family. And then they give her a new sword. So the characters that they put in there, they're like, we want to add you and devotion to family. I think they were trying to Americanize it just a pinch, because there would have been generally a phrase, or at least something would have made a little bit more sense. But I guess they wanted to keep it simple. Like whenever like someone who's not Chinese gets like a Chinese tattoo of themselves, and they're like, this means gold truth, and you're like, I guess that's how I felt like they did the sword. But I was like, the sword still look nice. That's never going to stop me from wanting to collect it. And just for any fan fact, for those who are like really serious cat maniacs, swords that I would like is actually the Green Destiny. I seriously just want the like, because I already have like 15 swords, but you know, whatever. So now let's move on to number 2. That would be Matchless Mulan. Let me just take a sip. We're done with Disney. Hold on. Now we can focus on the other ones. So this one is the one that everyone's been talking about. I've also seen on reviews. They're like, did you know there was another live action Mulan? Did you know? And it was just like, yeah. And I thought they were talking about the other one, but they weren't. And I was like, oh yeah, it's called Matchless Mulan. And I thought it was just like a poor translation. Someone didn't do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I went back to go check, and I was like, oh no. So this has Hu Xie. She's in here. She has. Let me go through my notes, because there's so many Mulans movies coming out. Like she's starting to be like the American Chinese Batman. Totally. Anyways, so in Matchless Mulan 2020. Alright, so cool. The thing you can like about Matchless Mulan is that the opening scene is more or less explaining like her parents' realization that they don't think she's ever gonna find a match, because she's like, is she ever gonna get married? They go see an oracle. So again, we're battling the Morons, and they're like, oh, what's going on? Her father's sick, he's got a bad leg, the whole 9 yards, and she's got a little brother. He's getting beat up on by one of the other members of the village. And it's kind of funny because they sort of establish her martial arts skills starting at a young age, but also her ability to defend others. So like her brother's getting beat up. One of the guys makes what ends up happening is they steal food and they bump into Mulan's little brother, right? And then he's like, oh no, I dropped it. There's tears and stuff. There's all kind of stuff happening because he's yelling at him like, oh, you made me drop the food. He's like, I worked really hard to steal that. And then his friend's like, yo, shut up. That's Mulan's brother. Shut up. He's like, what? And then because he's crying, she, you know, her sisterly roles kick in. She goes in and now she's just fighting and beating up people. She's like, ah! I'm messing with my brother. So you see that she's already feared. Like in general, they established that she is a feared woman in that village. So she's like, yeah, what's up? Hi, Mulan. And they're like, oh, she's here. And like you see all the men running, which I actually kind of enjoyed that comical sense about what Who did with her character and how they wrote her out. So the fact that she has a brother, obviously the army comes in, they're like, oh, Pops, you gotta go. Same story. Skip. She's now over at the camp, and she's there for training. Now the funny thing about training is that when she arrives, the two guys from her village that she was beating up for picking on her brother, they recognize her. They're like, she's here? And she's just like, mind your business, I'm taking the place for my father. He doesn't have a son old enough. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Because they're already scared of her as it is. But they decide to end up basically helping her out anyway. And they're trying to help her blend in. So instead of her being so clever and smart, she actually has someone there to actually assist her, which kind of makes more sense to me. Because this isn't the first time in history where women have dressed up as men just to get stuff done. Because they're like, they can't do it, they're a girl. And then they are so rudely mistaken. She has her bros there to kind of help her. She builds a relationship with them, and that's in Matchless Mulan 2020. and they sort of even introduce her as like, when the other guy's like, what's your name? Like, oh, this is Mulanga. So in Chinese, Gaga is like brother. So they're trying to like say, this is Mulan, bro. This is bro Mulan, bro Mulan. That's basically what they're trying to do, to establish the man thing. Like, he's just small. That's really what they're trying to, like, I guess, explain. You got to see them build everything up in their friendship, and I'm about to get off track. So as you're traveling through with Mulan, the things that I felt that Disney Mulan did not do was they showed the devastation of war. When you watch the battles that she went through along with her comrades, these seem like more realistic battles. I mean, they did a couple of like, you know, cheap shots where they did like the shaky scene, you know, where the scene's like a little blurry, but you see the action. One of the princes ends up like getting taken in, so they have to do like a rescue mission. Xiao's trying to get credit for it, whatever. So Mulan and her team, they end up going out, and they sort of establish why she would be in a small batch of men, because there's a group of them, and they're sort of set up like in cubicles, I guess, if you want to describe it. They're like little small army of like 10, 15 guys, like a bunch of different schools going, we're going to war. When they eventually go and go out to go rescue Toba, it's the prince, and I was about to say Toba Jun because I'm so in love with him. But I can't remember his name right now because I was like, Toba Jun, and I was like, oh my god, no. Give me a minute. So the prince, they go to rescue him, right? Because he basically puts himself up like, hey guys, this is how we're gonna do things. And because they have him, Xiao wants credit, and he gets Huan Mulan and a bunch of the other guys and the people from her town, and they're like, we're gonna go rescue him. So they go rescue him, and the scene was pretty cool. They step into the Roran territory, and they're like, we're taking our prince back! Ah! And it's like super awesome. You're like, whoa! Fight scene's super cool. And then Yuan Hong gets left behind, and he's actually from her village, and it's it's actually the other guy's brother. So this movie plays with your emotions, because when you become emotionally invested into this film for Matchless Mulan, you start to feel for each individual characters, whether you like the old man, whether you like the two brothers from her village, whether you hate Xiao. You start to kind of like enjoy the characters on such a deeper level, because you become invested in them. The Rwans are messed up. So throughout the film, they do some cold-hearted things, like murdering people's brothers right in front of them, like literally bringing him over there like, hey, come out the gate, we got your brother. And you're like, because you know he wants to go out and get his brother, and they're like, come get him, he's right here, we brought him, come, trust us, didn't I? And like, it's like very trusting, like, come. And then he's like, I want to get him, let me get them. And they don't. They kill him in front of him. They do other like messed up things, like even when they the camp gets infested with rats, and half the people are sick, half the people, like most people, decide to go back home. It's like a small amount of them holding down the fort because they're trying to protect that, because they're hoping somebody's gonna come back and give them backup. Like, we just gotta hold it down, we got this, we're gonna hold it down just like a little bit, and they're gonna send reinforcements, and then we'll be safe. Reinforcements don't show up. They're like, so they're holding down the fort to protect the Imperial City, and the Rwandans are just, they don't even fight them. They just like stand outside the gate like cooking food. They're like, oh, the soup is so good. Oh, bro, you want some? You want some? Because they know that they're hungry and they're starving. They can barely fight. They had like a couple of fight scenes like throwing fire, and they're trying to scale the wall, which both Disney and Matchless Mulan also had in there. I did appreciate the scaling in Disney, by the way. I just wanted to put that out there. I think some people didn't like it. They felt like it was unrealistic. But let's see you climb a wall. Matchless Mulan had more action in that regards, and eventually they hold it down, and the reinforcements do like kind of like show up, and they're like, hey, we're here, la 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 la. And they fight them off, and then she's go back to the Emperor, and she's rewarded. I know I summed up Matchless Mulan very quickly. Now I want to go back and make a comparison between the two of them very briefly. A lot of the things that I was looking for in Mulan is in Matchless Mulan. For 2020. I'm looking for action. I am looking more for a genuine Chinese feel. I'm looking for trying to understand something that's similar to the Chinese dramas that I watch. I'm looking for diving into the character themselves and feeling like I am in their place. So one of the things I did feel that Disney Mulan did not have, they felt like she didn't work for it. It's just because she had powerful chi. And in the Disney Mulan, she actually does work for it, and you see that she's been trained in her martial arts since she was a young girl, and she actually has worked really hard to get to where she is. The problem is the Disney films spent so much time focusing on her chi, and misunderstanding and misusing and then misinterpreting what chi really is, because it's not her chi, it was actually her hard work, opposed to that, you know, carrying on for the film was conveyed, I guess, through a Western lens on how to explain, like, that's what it is, it's her chi, I have strong chi. It's kind of like when Westerners learn like what yoga is, and they're like, I do yoga, namaste. It's not just about the words. You can't translate words, and you can't just translate things. There are just some things that are just intellectually, culturally comprehended. So Matchless Mulan is more or less of a film that I would have enjoyed a little bit more, just because it had more action, the fighting seemed more realistic. It wasn't such a big deal that she was a chick. She didn't have to remove her armor and unveil her beautiful hair. But that's the kind of Mulan I was looking for, a Matchless Mulan, that kind of style. So again, I'm gonna go with that in order to like kind of make the Matchless. It's cute, it's fun, it's more or less of the Mulan that I was really looking for. So that's why I think Matchless Mulan is getting such a like, oh my god, we love her, we love her, we love her, we love her. My favorite Mulan is actually the one with Zhao Wei. Mulan Rise of a Warrior 2009. This would be first. Matchless Mulan would also be second. We're discussing. Ho-chan, stop. So in this one, she has a brother. Again, she goes out to war. What I loved about Mulan Rise of a Warrior was she was taught martial arts from a young age. It is so heartbreakingly human to watch this film. You watch her kind of develop a love interest in Wen Tai, and when she's with him, when they're in the camp, they're training, they show her friendship amongst her comrades, how they're building up. Her brother is there, and there's people who kind of know who she is, and they're like, yo, shut up, don't tell anyone. And they do the same thing, like, you know, Zimlunga, you know, this is my brother, blah, blah, blah. They do the same thing, but that's not what's important. They show the comrade trust that they built up. They show her actually climbing up the military ranks alongside another friend who she trusts very much, and she trusts him, but she also loves him at the same time. So they show that she does the most humanistic things, and it didn't make it seem like she's falling in love because she's a chick. Like, they didn't do any of that. She cared for him deeply as a friend, and they were never lovers, but she had that love for him like a lover. That they show where she messed up with her own army because she thought he was in danger, and she took her battlemen and left the people who were carrying the supplies off to the side, and she went to go rescue him, and he was pissed because they came back and ambushed the supplies, so they were short on supplies. They show her kind of going back and forth when Ty's trying to figure out, like, oh my god, what do I do with her, what do I do? He ends up pretending that he dies, and he doesn't actually really die. He's just hiding amongst the other soldiers, and he does it just so she can become this incredible general that she was like destined to be, because he felt like he was holding her back. They show the ugliness of war. The fight scenes are intense. You are in the moment with Mulan. When you are there on the battlefield, you feel like you were there. This is why that one's my favorite Mulan. And that's the kind of film like I look for. When I look for films that show strong female, that is what I'm looking at, because I love to see the tribulations that they go through. I like seeing them make a little mistakes. That's why Harley Quinn's such a big, you know, character, because she makes mistakes. It humanizes her, and it makes her so deeply relatable that you're like, she did that, she loves him, but they're not lovers. It's not like, it's like, oh, that's my boo. That's not what's going on. She has this deep relationship between love as a comrade, love as someone she would like to be with, but love also in the middle of war, a love that she has for her best friend, a love for her closest brother friend. You know, their relationship is intense, and at some point she discovers that he's not even dead, but when she thinks he's dead, she kind of abandons her army. She becomes a drunk. She doesn't train them. The army's just kind of like wandering around because they don't know what to do, and they're not training like they're supposed to be. The brother is trying to like get them to like, we gotta train. He gets pissed off with her. He runs and tells her like, yo, he would be disappointed to see you like this. Get your ass up. Get over there and train everyone. And she becomes this great warrior, and you see her constantly being rewarded for her actions, She's just climbing the ranks, and they make it very evident that Mulan's life was not that pretty. She goes through war, and it's not like this is like a 1-year war just for 6 months. They're at war for like 10 years. They're showing what would have fell into the period history of what was going on between Northern Wei and the Rorans at that time. When she discovers that he's not really dead, she's angry, but she's also all over the place, but she still holds her ground, which is the most important part about being a strong female. You can make mistakes, you can screw up, things happen, it's okay. You can be like, oh no! But as long as you regain yourself and you're like, we got this, like we can, that's what makes a strong woman amazing, especially for like a film. So if I had to pick a Mulan, my kind of Mulan would be Mulan Rise of a Warrior from 2009. That will always probably be my favorite one. I also felt like Jiawei, she did such a great job conveying these real, authentic emotions that women go through, and it didn't have to be culturally translated either. The other thing is, in regards to all 3 films, Disney Mulan's reveal was over the top. And Matchless Mulan, what she does is she gets drunk and confesses it to the prince while she's drunk, like, yeah, I'm really a woman, until like one of her friends grabs her like, yeah, he's stupid. We know so he did not. He's stupid. And then like, take her like, what are you doing? Shut up! You just told the prince you were a woman. Like, what? I'm okay. Like, she's really drunk. It's really funny. They make fun of the fact that she's a lightweight. And that's before the city gets infested with rats. And then the gender reveal here is more poetic and more intimate in regards to Mulan Rise of a Warrior. So if you're looking for like a bashing of the film, I'm going to just tell you what I like and dislike about all 3 films. But if you are looking for a cute version, and I do mean cute version of Mulan, I would say fine, give it to the Disney, fine, let the kids watch it. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more realistic to like fight scenes in regards to how battle looks, how things really look. I mean, even when you look at the Rise of Mulan, in that one, it is heart-wrenching when you see what the Rorans have done with the devastation that they leave behind. It is hardcore in comparison to what Disney did. Disney was like, this is cute, this is what death looks like, it's friendly. And you're like, no, it's not. And you go to Matchless Mulan, and then she only ends up seeing the devastation because they end up being like graveyard fairies to like go pick up the bodies. And even when they go back and pick up the bodies, they're like, holy crap, this is what they left for us. And then you look over at the Rise of Mulan, it's the same thing. It's pure devastation. Disney really cutesy-sided it. That's a word. Although the actors did a really great job, and I applaud them. I am in full support of the film, just because I do think this may open up more jobs for my friends who are looking for additional roles. Whether you're looking to be in a show like Warriors, or if you want to be in stuff more like Disney Mulan, it opens up the avenue for actors. So I do applaud Disney for that. I do applaud them for the slow motion effects. I think that came out great. There's just certain issues that I personally had, and it didn't feel like, it felt like they tried too hard to be Chinese. It wasn't everything that I was hoping it to be, and I felt like, but it did have good aspects to it. The one thing that I didn't like was, I guess, the over the top focus on how much everyone hates women kind of thing. Because there are comrades and there are allies, so it kind of just felt like Matchless Mulan and then Mulan Rise of Warrior do kind of like show that like there are allies. And then most importantly, I'm upset that Disney Mulan killed Gong Li. Now here's my thing. Alright, you want to go with the whole Chi story? Whatever. However, Gong Li would have been a great side story. Are you kidding me? Her character alone, you could have shown how she went through all this stuff in her life, how she had to rebuild herself, she had to become this great villain, how she became this great evil demonic spirit, like she died and came back. That would have been super cool, like a dark phoenix, like that kind of thing. Like that would have been super freaking awesome. Why did you kill Gong Li? Like why? Why? She was perfect. I loved her. I loved her so. You hurt my feelings, Disney, with that one. You guys really did. Out of everything else in that film, that's what bothered me the most. I'm just saying it. If you are looking for something a little bit more comedy-ish to it, then I would definitely comedy as in realistic comedy. Like in Matchless Mulan or Mulan Rise of Warrior, like in the opening scene with Mulan, they mention that she's been training all of her life, but she's dealing with her father because he's sick before the army comes in, and she gives him some, she's like, here, and he's like, I am not drinking that, I would drink this. And he drinks it, and it turns out the one that was drank was actually medicine. He's like, oh, this is medicine? And they start teasing, you know, his friends start teasing, like, oh, look, your daughter's using military tactics, your weakness against the enemy, against her own father, like they're teasing her. So if you're looking for that kind of like humor, then definitely I would recommend watching Mulan Rise of Warrior. I think all three films are interesting. We know which ones are my favorite. Especially Mulan Rise of a Warrior, which I'll like. Disney, if you were going to do the film, I would have appreciated I guess better cultural translations for certain things, and not the focus of Chi being why men fear this particular woman and call her a witch, because the truth is she would be either considered to be an evil spirit, and there are witches in a sense like Chinese cultures, but they're like shamans, like you would see Native American shaman or shamans in South America or in other cultures. Is really only called a witch when you really kind of get to westernized Western cultures, especially when they're like burner. I just felt like certain things were not culturally translated properly for the Disney film. I hope you guys did enjoy this review. I kind of had it organized, as you can tell, with all the papers throwing all over the place. But then I also kind of just wanted to put more of me, what I was really thinking in the film. Let me know if you have seen all three Mulans. What did you think? Or 5 Mulans. That includes the 2 cartoons, which I'm still not understanding why they did a cartoon Mulan too. I think Disney was just like, let's just do this, because I didn't like the Little Mermaid part too. Like, and the daughter wants to go to the ocean. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. I didn't like Princess Tiana. I felt like they could have done, like, if Disney wants to, by the way, just as a side note, if Disney ever wants to do, like, instead of doing like Lion King and like The Princess and the Frog, why don't you do like a Disney version of the story of Queen Hatshepsut? Or Nefertiti, like, because they had some crazy lives, and you can definitely Disney that up and make it seem pretty, but also tell like the hardships of them. One of them, even their sons tried to, like, you know, get rid of them because they're like, my mom's more powerful than me, she's gonna go. I am so scared to how long this video is because my camera has got off on me like 4 or 5 times. Disney Mulan for kids, really for kids. I think if you're gonna watch it, you should at least educate your kids on the fact that Chi is actually your life force. It is you. Mulan was a hard-working woman. Hardworking, and she took place in war for her to honor her father, but mostly to save his life. Hope you guys enjoyed that review. Let me know if you've seen Disney Mulan, if you've seen Matchless Mulan or Mulan Rise of a Warrior. Tell me which ones do you like. Which actress do you actually like? Which stories do you like? How are you about Donnie Yen? How are you about Jet Li's voice being dubbed? I like Jia Wei, I'm sorry, she's my favorite. How do you feel about Gong Li dying? Because that was messed up. What were you expecting from the film? I just want to know. And if you've seen all 3 films, which one's actually your favorite? Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize this video was so long, but there's a lot when it comes to Mulan. What's that? Is that a paper ball? That's one. Oh no, there's another. Pooja, what are you gonna do with yourself? There's so many paper balls. Now you don't want to play? Bro, you suck. You totally suck, Pooja.